Recording there. Sweet.
Awesome.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, this is SANDCAST, beach volleyball with Bourne, who is in Cancun. So not Bourne today.
Not Bourne.
He's got bigger and better things to do.
Yeah. Like be at a resort in Mexico.
I know. Have you seen the videos and
I've
stuff
seen
from
them.
Mexico?
The Mexican beach volleyball Instagram page is like...
Looks thriving.
Yeah. Seriously.
Thriving.
Oh, yeah, when people are like, oh, you know, it's going to suck to go there for like 3 weeks and you're going to be gone all this time and it's kind of expensive. And I'm like, is it though?
Yeah,
like,
well, that's the thing is that, because I was looking at it, like this is the cheapest FIVB an American could possibly play. Because we always have to go.
It was like a 4-hour flight from
Yeah,
California. Yeah.
It's like super easy. When I was looking at flights, it was like $290.
Yeah.
And then the hotel, I think, is like $200 a night if you're not in main draw. But
I heard it's like all inclusive, right?
Yeah. So
all the food, everything.
And like the rooms are awesome.
The rooms are really nice.
So I was FaceTiming with Try, and he was like, they have this little outdoor patio.
Yeah.
Which I would have killed for in Doha.
Yeah.
Because when you're cooped up, like you have to like be in this bubble.
Right.
So you couldn't leave your room until you got a negative test. And so,
so you couldn't even go outside.
Couldn't even go outside.
Oh, that's miserable.
And so like the resort looks awesome. They have this little outdoor patio they can hang on.
Yeah.
And Trevor brought his Xbox because they're going to be there for like a month.
Yeah, I just saw
like,
Kelly Clay's just
posted.
Yeah, she just posted her Nintendo Switch setup. And Kelly, if you're watching this, I told her she didn't know you can play with people virtually on the Switch.
I've never played a Switch.
Oh, well, you were really missing out.
The last gaming
Kelly and I are about to be gaming out when I get back to my Switch.
I know she's a gamer. So Kelly was like maybe the second guest we had. And,
really?
She was talking about how like off season is video game season. And she was stoked for it. So I know she's a gamer.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a gamer at heart. Zelda's my jam.
Zelda's like old school.
I know,
but then Zelda when I was like a kid on like the handheld game.
Yeah, but like the new one on the Switch is like the best game I've ever played in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
The last game system I had was N64 in college.
I mean, that's the best one by far. Like,
do you need anything else?
I don't know if you really need anything else. Well, Super Smash. I'm really good at Super Smash.
So we had Mario Kart, Super Smash, and GoldenEye.
I feel like there needs to be like a beach volleyball like Mario Kart tournament.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Definitely invite Kendra Van Zwieten. She's a monster at Mario Kart. Questionable whether or not we should invite Kaya. But it would be for entertainment if we invited Kaya.
Yeah. So, Mesco, you got here. So you've been in California for how long?
I don't know, like 5 or 6 days, I think. Yeah.
She got here like a week after what John Mesco calls his strategy game days. So every year on his birthday, Mesco has like an 18-hour strategy game marathon. So these are like board games. So he does Clue and chess.
Oh my God, I need to be here for that next year.
Him and Adam Roberts, two of the most competitive people I know, they require anything they play to have at least an 80-20 strategy to luck ratio. So like they won't play Sorry because it's too much up to what you roll. Yeah. And not enough strategy. So like chess is number one. It's all strategy, and that's why they love volleyball. And so they play like Clue. They do an egg toss, cornhole. They do that game where you put like a pole in the ground and then a beer on top of the pole.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea what that's called, but I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what it's called either. But yeah, it's like this 18-hour thing, and then he ends it with, everyone coming over to his house and playing like Sunset Force.
Wow.
And it's like this epic day.
All right, I'm about to text him after
this.
Mario Kart and please invite me to this. Yeah, Mario Kart is for sure a skill.
So Mesco would love to have you.
Yeah.
So every year, his birthday it was like last week, so early April.
Okay. I'll plan on it.
Out here. That'll have to be your like preseason training.
Yeah, preseason mental training.
But you've so everyone in California had a pretty extended off season. Like beaches were closed, we didn't have tournaments. But did you really? Obviously, like Florida was like closed down to some extent. But when we're talking about off season, like I feel like you were playing like in Florida. You have a choice. Not only are there tournaments to play, it's like multiple. Which one do I play?
Yeah, multiple tournaments in like one weekend. Yeah. I think after I got home from playing the AVP this summer and like being out here almost like the whole month of July, I pretty much hit the ground running as like life as usual. Yeah. There were some good tournaments this fall. I mean, people came from all over the country to play because it was like the only place people were playing. So that was pretty cool. If anybody who knows me, I me and Aurora Davis will play every tournament under the sun. I don't care if there's 4 teams signed up or whatever. So her and I always joke about that. But I feel like tournaments are great training if you come in with the right mindset. Like play actual real life matches where there's money on the line, and you have to like actively work on the things that you're working on in practice. So 200 to like $500 on top of that to win at the end of the day is pretty awesome if you get that. So if you're looking to play a tournament, come to Florida. There's always stuff going on. Dig the Beach finally put out their schedule.
So they were
South
like the
Florida.
one tour that wasn't playing tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Which is surprising because they put on
the best events.
Supposedly the best ones. I don't think I've ever played at Dig the Beach, but it's like unanimous that Dig puts on.
Dig the Beach is like
ones.
More fun than AVP sometimes. Like,
really?
Yeah, there's a beer cooler, there's music all day. Diogo literally like is the tournament director you trust that if you don't show up on time, legitimately you will get a point a minute. Like some people like to threaten that.
Director we need.
Yes, like he's the man. So South Florida was definitely hit way harder with COVID, and the beaches were a little more strict on like giving out permits. Like it's been open, obviously everyone sees all the spring break stuff that's been happening, but they were really hesitant, I guess, to give out permits. And he runs his tour like Fort Lauderdale, Pompano. Sometimes he'll come where I live in St. Pete and run events on the west coast of Florida. But finally he put out a couple dates, and he said he's kind of got his lineup for the whole summer. So we're excited to see that. Excited to play one of those. It's really nice.
Do they play all over in Florida, or do they have like kind of a home beach?
I would say Fort Lauderdale is like their home beach.
Okay.
And like South Florida, they'll play Fort Lauderdale, Pompano. There'll be like 4 or 5 events there, which is great. Those beaches are great. Sand is deep. Like there's plenty of beach. There's usually no issues, unless you like cramp because of the heat. But he'll come to the east or the west coast. He'll do Fort Myers and like Siesta Key usually. Which that's always fun for everybody's knees.
That's the one thing about Florida. I feel like there's very few like natural beaches that you can play on that aren't like super shallow. Or have I just like gotten kind of unlucky?
I think you've gotten unlucky.
I think Fort Walton is one of the best beaches like ever to play on. I think it's so beautiful.
The Panhandle is great.
Yeah.
Well, the west coast of Florida is definitely tougher to play on. Like the west coast of Florida, the beaches are beautiful because they're like if you've never been to Clearwater or Siesta, it's literally like somebody dropped, like it's like God dropped a bag of flour on the beach, and it's just like perfectly smooth, fluffy white sand. It's also very shallow, so for beach volleyball, not ideal. But west or east coast of Florida, like Jack's Beach is awesome to play tournaments on. They had the First Coast Volleyball always does a great job. They're like 16 teams. Sorry if you don't sign up in time. Cash payout on site. Like
love that. We need more of that.
Yeah, that's Diogo too. I mean, he'll pay you on site, which is so nice as a beach volleyball player. Just walk away with cash in your hand. But Jack's Beach is like on the pier, so there's like lots to do right there, and there's always like a lot of people watching. Cocoa is always a hot spot, like literally a hot spot because people will get blisters playing there because the sand's darker. But the beach is good. The sand, East Coast, the sand is deep. So if you haven't ever played at East Coast,
because I played at the Sheraton Key.
I mean, that is that was like special place.
Yeah, the Sheraton Key. I don't know. Have you played in Norseca?
No, I haven't played in Norseca.
So the Sheraton Key is like that is as close to a Norseca as you can get.
Perfect.
So like stunning, beautiful, and then it's like this really cool setup, and then you walk out and you're like, should I wear shoes?
Yeah, I will be bleeding when I walk off the court from the shells. Yeah. Hey, it's great. I mean, that's what I said. I think I wrote an article for the AVP a while ago about like my experience playing in Florida, and I think that nothing prepares you more for literally any circumstance than playing tournaments in Florida. So
you get it all because like you get the rain, you get the wind, you get
various
whatever
sand
conditions. And then out here it's like it's just perfect like almost every day. And then you go and it's like, wait, it's drizzling. We can't play in this.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Like try playing when the nets are so heavy with water that it's like 3 feet lower. And I think Gina actually came to Florida and played one. We had a bad run this year. It was like just really unlucky with the rain. Like, it was 2020, so I don't know what anybody expected. It was exceptionally rainy this year. Normally you'll get like in Florida, you'll play a tournament and you'll like 1, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you'll get like the midday thunderstorm. Everyone will stop for like an hour or two and just hang out under the tents while it downpours, and then it'll be done and you just finish the tournament. But this year it was like a hurricane every single tournament. on the shallow beaches. Like normally we're not always playing on the shallow beaches too, and then it gets flooded, so whatever. Adversity, right?
Good adversity.
Yeah, nothing makes you stronger.
So did you take like any time off?
I did. I took a little bit of time. I turned 30 this year. I used to think.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just chatting with my best friend who I started playing beach volleyball with. Like when we started playing at like 18, we played with like the ladies, and like I'm a lady now. Like I'm the 30-year-old that I played with when I was 18. Yeah. Anyway, so I was just really wanting to, last year we had our wedding right before COVID, thank the Lord.
Me, you, and the Kalinskis.
Slipped that in.
Snuck them in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know. But we didn't really go on a honeymoon. We were going to kind of wait like a year later, and we didn't get to do that. I was like, I'm turning 30. I want it to be exciting, So me and my husband, Kibby, actually went to Costa Rica in January. So we took like 2 or 3 weeks and got to travel a little bit. And that was really nice time off. Yeah. It was really fun because when we booked our flights, there were no restrictions to come back to the U.S. Yeah. And the day after I booked my flights, the U.S. was like, hey, starting the day before we fly back, you need a negative COVID test to re-enter the country. And then, of course, all of the flights the day before that went like sky high. Yeah. So whatever. We were like, whatever. We haven't been on vacation. Right. We changed our flights so we didn't have to, chance it or anything. But yeah.
Here Costa Rica is beautiful too.
It was awesome. We actually played while we were there.
I bet. I can imagine anywhere you go, you'll find somewhere to play.
I mean, I married Kibby Jelks, so yeah, we're playing volleyball on vacation every time. We almost had a tournament for our wedding.
That's so funny.
But yeah, we found some locals in Costa Rica. We went to Montezuma, and there was like a little court in town. They were actually doing a clinic or something. We saw them every day, and there was like little kids and coaches out there.
Oh, awesome.
And we like low key were like trying to stay by the court and like, hey, does anyone want to play volleyball with us? Like, so does that count as time off, I guess, if I played there?
We'll give it to you.
Yeah. Time off of, structured training. Yeah. It's hard to take time off when you like love it, It
is so hard because then, especially when you're in a place where you can find someone to play.
All the time.
Every day.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, I told Delaney, I was like, I'm taking off like December through January. And then Tim Brewster texts, he's like, hey, dude, you want to get out? I'm like, yes.
Duh, yeah, because playing with Tim Brewster would be a blast. Like, yeah.
I love it. And then like once, it did make it easier here because like we literally couldn't get out. Yeah. So we had to take time off. Yeah. And we just went to the mountains all the time and we went backpacking.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely like, the shutdown for COVID was like the longest I had gone without playing volleyball in a really long time. Yeah. Like when we were in it, like, I mean, I think it was like the first like 3 weeks, like we couldn't, I mean, some of our friends in Florida had like private courts and we could have gone there, but we just didn't, at first everyone was like, we don't really know what's happening, so nobody was really inviting people over or whatever. Yeah, I literally was like, I think that I haven't taken this much time off since I started playing volleyball in like 5th grade. Because when you're a kid, you go to camps, you're like fall season, then your club season, and then you're more camps. And I was like, I really don't think I've ever done this.
Yeah, I'd imagine. So me and Delaney, like right before we got here, we just got back from we have like a little club with Marcio.
Oh yeah,
And so we coach these kids, and I was talking to one of them, this girl named London. So she goes to school and then goes to like track practice. And then right after track, she goes and plays beach volleyball. And after beach volleyball, she plays soccer. And she's just like this nonstop energy. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And then I remember that, she's in 7th grade. And
right.
They have superpowers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember in college, like as soon as we were done with spring season in like May, me and my best friend Rachel would go play beach with our lady friends. And then we would go straight from there to the old club that we played for and like hop in with the 18s team. And then we'd go back to campus and like play in like the beach volleyball league. And then we'd get up in the morning and go to weights and do it again. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think I ever stopped doing that somehow.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like you're still doing that because you
kind of feel like that.
Because I feel like, do you train 5 days a week in Florida?
Like 4 to 5 days a week.
Okay, and then you have tournaments on the weekends and then just reload.
Yeah, I don't know. Why not? All my friends are there, so what else am I going to do?
I love that. And
Yeah.
you're working, what's your coach's name?
Alex,
Okay.
he's a Russian guy.
Yeah.
He is like this big, tan, burly, looks like he should be, you know, like Russian mafia, but
Yep.
as soon as you start talking to him, he's like the biggest, jolliest, like teddy bear.
Yeah.
He's great. He coached with the Russian national teams a little bit, and I'm kind of
Okay.
like, how did we get? I don't know. There's some amazing coaches in Florida. There really are. So we've been working with him quite a bit. He's like super Russian and technical and to the point, and I love that. I'm like, you know, don't beat around the bush. Just tell me no, you didn't do it right. Do it again. Okay, got it. Yeah, so that's been fun. I feel like this year is the first year I've really like experimented with coaching. I've just like got really lucky. I think when I moved to Tampa, I initially moved to Tampa because I got a job working in the athletic department at the University of South Florida. Mm-hmm. And then that's where I started playing NBL, and I, you know, played against Raquel Ferreira in the NBL and like didn't really know who she was before I played her. After I played her, I was like, okay, I will never forget you.
Yeah.
And she, after the tournament, you know, players party, she was like, you're a great player, like, where do you live? I've never seen you before, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm in St. Pete. And she was like, what? I'm in St. Pete. And then just like kind of took me under her wing. And like for 6 years, like I was getting like incredible coaching by frankly who I think is one of the smartest minds in the game. So she kind of stepped out and like is living her best life, kind of volleyball free for a little while. And yeah, so it was like kind of fun to like, that's why I'm out here. You know, I wanted to get some different coaching, got to work with like Scott Davenport. He's
great.
He's awesome.
He's a sharp dude.
Oh yeah, I've been super impressed. And Raquel, I mean, she's still like my girl. Like I'm like, hey, I'm going to Cali training with Scott, and she's like, oh, you're gonna love him. And I was like, perfect.
Yeah, if you like technical stuff, Scott's your guy.
Yeah, and he's very like straight and to the point. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just nice to, you know, I think to get the best experience out of any game. Like this is a weird sport, right? You have to really take control over your own career.
Yeah.
So on one hand, where I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for a while, I'm like pretty confident in my game and like what I want my game to look like and what I need to do to get better.
Yeah.
Like you need this like menagerie of like people to like take things from and like be the professional that like makes it happen.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool because like in every other sport, it's like you have your coach and you have your team and you just like everything's there and fed for you. And in this sport, you're like, I could have a different coach every day of the week and still be a top player, you know? So
I love that you think that's cool because so many players look at that and they're like, well, how am I supposed to figure this out?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I get to figure this out.
Yeah.
It's just the
absolutely.
mindset is so, I love that.
Yeah.
And that you don't look at it like, oh my God, like I need to do all this by myself.
Yeah. Well, I got to practice what I preach.
Yeah.
I've been like really, like, I mean, my biggest thing from this year was just like switching out of like volleyball coaching.
Yeah.
It was definitely like the silver lining of COVID for me because this has been something it's been like low key, like my last thing that if I'm like super bored, I start working on, you know, and then the shutdown happened and all of my like in-person court coaching, which I love coaching volleyball. Like I will never stop. Like I want to be like 60 years old and like coaching a state championship high school team, you know, like it's definitely there for me, but it's not sustainable to like coach for 4 or 5 hours a night, train every morning. Like my body was not okay.
It's amazing how much coaching takes you out of the body.
Absolutely.
Like this whoop. So like my coaching day, we coached for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it registered like way higher than my lift for an hour.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't feel like you're doing much. And then you sit down and you're like, wow, it feels good to sit down.
Absolutely. It's like physical, emotional, like mental energy that you're putting out there. And so, you know, everything shut down. Obviously all the clubs shut down. And I was like, well, I got time. This is my thing that I do when I don't have much to do. And so, I reinvested. I've been doing health coaching, which is basically all the things that I love about coaching that's not volleyball. You know, like I feel like when I first started coaching volleyball as a kid, like when I'm like 18, 19, 20 years old, I was like so uber competitive, and then like I would just get pissed when the kids I coach like didn't want it.
Right.
And I'm like, why don't you want it? Like it would just make me angry. And then, you know, like you grow up and you realize that like some kids need to like the off the court stuff isn't in place enough for them to like feel free enough to like change on the court, you know? And that piece, like once I figured that out for coaching volleyball, was like now I'm having a completely different experience coaching volleyball. It's like I want my kids to leave the season being like, not like, oh my God, Coach Kim made me the best volleyball player, we had all these wins. Like, no, like Coach Kim like changed me as a person. You know, like that's the year that I like figured it out. And like that's the piece I feel like I grew really like passionate about. And I feel like health coaching is that, you know, for kids, for adults. And so, yeah, it's been really fun. I spent the whole year like going back to school and studying for the national board exam, which I just passed, which was exciting. Thank you. Yeah. It was like, oh, I finally did it, you know, like 1 year later, 2021. And now I've got like new business which makes it a little easier for travel, for volleyball for now.
For sure.
So yeah, it's been kind of fun.
Yeah. I feel like there were kind of two different reactions to COVID.
Yeah.
There were people who were just like, well, life is terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to shut down. And then you have, you know, like people like you and Kibby, where Kibby, now he's the real estate mogul of St.
Oh my
Pete.
gosh. Yeah. If you guys are looking to buy a house in Florida because it's like open.
Kibby Jelks is your guy.
Yep. Let me know.
But then like you went back to school, you got your certification?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like you started your own business, and like you
Yeah.
finally like started doing all the stuff that you'd wanted to do.
Yeah.
But you didn't have the time to, and then COVID gave you that
Totally.
time.
Didn't have the time, and I think like, you know, I don't know. I've never been nobody that I know like is like, ooh, I want to be really popular on social media. I want to like post everything. Like I want to like really put myself out there. Like that's just not.
Maybe no one in Florida. Come out.
Okay, maybe no one in Florida. No one that I'm really close with. I'll put it that way. So it was like not easy. I mean, it was kind of can I actually practice what I preach? You know, like can I like tell my clients to like be resilient and put yourself out there, and like you know, don't let fear like stop you from the goal that you want, which for me the goal that I want is to have my own business and have my own clients and like help them as like I see fit and like follow my intuition. So like I can't really work for somebody else doing that. So it was kind of like, okay, you know, face the music. Can I do this myself? Which was cool. I feel like I gained some confidence doing it. Like it's surprised me. Because at first you're like, oh, you know, you gotta post and you gotta like engage and you gotta, you know, be open and be vulnerable on social media, which is like, I hate, you know, nobody wants to do that. But it feels like now it feels good. It feels genuine. Like I actually, like the feedback I get is like really positive. Like people are like, wow, thank you so much. Like the stuff you put out, like, is really helpful. Like, thank you. And I'm like, great, I'll keep doing it. You know, it's a little more motivating. So yeah, it's been a year of growth, which is awesome. Like to say that 2020 was like 2020, you know, sucked for like 2 months, especially like, you know, with the shutdown, financially, we were really like scared for quite a bit of time, for a minute there. But I think it's really encouraging, like in the first year, and I'm sure you guys feel this way too, like in the first year of marriage, to like be hit with the literal hardest time you've ever been through and come out saying that like 2020 was one of the best years of our lives, like for both of us. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. And I think it's, I mean, everybody always says like, it's not what happens to you, you know, it's how you react to it. Yeah. True. And I think that's totally true. Cause like we ended up having a pretty great year in spite of, I mean, my full-time job for the last 3 years has been writing about volleyball. Yeah. There's nothing to write about. Right? Yeah. Just figured stuff out. Make it up. So, I mean, if you just make it happen. But how would you define health coaching? That's a great question. It's a little elusive for some people. I almost feel that it's more appropriate to call it life coaching, but life coaching gets kind of a bad rap sometimes too, because it's like I don't know, it's kind of like the mental health stigma. It's like, oh, I shouldn't need that, you know? But frankly, everyone needs a coach. Like, I think like people like us are the very, very small minority of like people who have had legitimate coaches and mentors who, like, that's their whole profession, is to be a coach and a mentor. Like, I've never skipped a beat. I've never had a year in my life where I did not have a coach.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane to think about. Like, most of the general population, like, pretty much has a coach in, like, high school, and that's it. You know? And, like, you would never step into beach volleyball and be like, I'm going to be a pro, and, like, never get coaching.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Like, or if it is, it's going to take you a really long time versus...
And you're not going to be a good one.
Yeah. You get a coach, and how much does that process accelerate, right? So when people ask me about health coaching, I usually kind of go back to, like, the volleyball, you know, and most of my clients are volleyball players, which is fun because obviously those are the people who are interacting with me, but so the volleyball metaphors are really good. But yeah, it's like, if you want your health and your life if you need change, you need a coach. Like, you need somebody who, like, you know, I'm not perfect, but I've also spent the last 10, 15 years of my life being hyper focused on this. So, you know, health coaching is, let's say you come into the program and you're like, you know, my eating habits aren't great. And, like, honestly, most of the people I work with are pretty high achieving people. It's like they're seeking, like...
I feel like that's probably why they're hiring a coach, because they're high achieving.
Yeah. I mean, there's like health coaching as a profession is, like, blowing up because of diabetes and obesity, and because people need, like, real behavioral lifestyle changes, and those are really hard to make. Kind of my niche is more like, hey, like, I'm like avoiding taking that next step because it's the harder thing to do. You know, like, I think what the people I work with the most, it's like, you can just go through life, but, like, for most people, it's like they're not actively choosing what's happening in their life. They're just letting life happen to them passively, and, like, whatever happens, whatever's the easiest path I'm on, versus, like, being like, hey, what do you guys want as a marriage? What do you guys want to look like in 30 years? Financially, fitness wise, like, can you imagine if, like, your current habits, I mean, I can imagine for you guys, you could never imagine a day in your life where you couldn't go to the mountains and hike because your health was holding you back. Like, so if your current habits were, like, leading you down this path, then in 30 years, that would be a thing you couldn't do. But you're not willing to look at it because it's scary. Like, that's what I do. It's really fun. It's really empowering. It's, the process works, you know, like, there's some intuition and some, like, feeling it out sometimes, and it's all, sometimes it's a little bumpy, but definitely glad I, like, took the time to, like, get education. I think it makes it a little easier, some structure, some, like, understanding of you know, all that stuff. So does that answer the question? I know it's, like, really long answer, but
So, I mean, would you say it's more like, so health coaching, do you think it's more like nutrition, lifestyle? Because I know, like, it's health and well-being is kind of all encompassing, but I don't know if you had, like, a specific focus or what you love most about it.
What I love most about health coaching is watching people take charge of their lives. Like, kind of what I was saying, like, instead of, like, passively letting life happen to you, like, deciding, like, this is what I want my future to look like, and, like, this is the rose-colored glasses dream, and, like, I don't know if I can get there, but it's gonna be fun to try, you know, and, like, teaching people that that's, like, how you can approach life, versus just, you know, some people, like, again, we're just in this weird bubble of, like, people who were exposed to all this stuff, all this mindset stuff, all the, like, resiliency that we face, you know, like, how we're like, oh, it's a rainy tournament, like, adversity, versus, like, this sucks, you know, like, that's a choice. And most people don't get the opportunity to realize that that's a choice. So what I love the most is that moment where people start to realize that they can choose. You can't choose to, like, not be depressed. You know, there's, like, really serious stuff, but that's not health coaching. Health coaching isn't therapy. It's not, you know, I think you need to know about your past, and that unlocks some things for people for sure. But, like, health coaching is, like, paint a picture of your future, like, and start choosing the steps to get there. And it's so fun.
And I think with health coaching, I mean, I know you mentioned you can't, obviously depression is its own thing, but I feel like health coaching with exercise and healthy eating, that changes your mental makeup.
Absolutely.
So much,
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's, like, real power in that.
There's so much power in that. Yeah. And I think it's an awesome self-accountability, you know, because when I'm doing this every day with clients, I'm telling my client, like, they're like, oh, my mental health's been a struggle. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, what things do you think will help that. And they're like, oh, maybe I should meditate more. And I'm like, I should meditate more. Like, you know, like, and then I'm like, all right, well, get off the phone and I'll spend 5 minutes because I'm like, I can't like, you know, not do that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The nutrition and fitness is like usually people's first most desperate moment where they're like, this is going the wrong way. My body feels horrible and I'm unhappy, like you said. So that's usually like the entryway into the program is like, I'm really unhappy with my eating habits and my workout habits. But your eating habits and your workout habits are never the reason, you know, like you're never like unhappy enough to like put yourself out there and work with a coach just because, you know, you ate too many tacos this weekend. Like it's because there's like other stuff in your life that's like unfulfilled. So that's the part, like once we get past like the first month of the program and we get into that stuff, that's this part where I'm like super passionate about. Yeah.
What I love, and coaching adults is awesome.
Yeah.
So me and Delaney went to, after Doha, we went to Salt Lake to coach the Better Beach Clinic.
Yeah, I'm doing the one in St. Pete in a couple months. Nice. Yeah.
You will have a blast.
I'm stoked.
Because like when adults invest their own money for coaching, which in this case was volleyball, but I'm sure that you probably get similar with health coaching, like they know their investment and they're doing it for a reason, and so like they want to get something out of it.
Yeah. Versus
like when you coach kids, I mean, half the time you're either babysitting, or the kids are like, oh, when is it over?
When it becomes your own money, different.
When it's your own money, the adults are like, how can I make this cut shot better? And I'm like, you know what? I would love to tell you about this.
Yeah. Seriously, it's cool. Like I feel like this is just like a natural part of who I am, and it's like been a kind of a long time coming. Like I feel like I'm the kind of person who likes to sit down and have like a real conversation. Like I've always been the kind of person that has, which is like, I don't know how Kibby, sometimes I'm like, how did Kibby and I end up together? Like that's the last thing he ever wants to do. He wants to talk volleyball all day. Like he can talk to anybody about anything. He is like the champion of small talk. And I'm like, get me out of here. Like, let's talk about something real, you know? So it feels good. It feels, I don't know. It's definitely the coolest thing I've ever done, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Have you seen, do you think that since you started health coaching more, have you seen an impact? I know you've mentioned that like you're holding yourself more accountable, like, I should meditate more. But do you think, like, have you seen an impact on your beach volleyball game?
100%.
I'm sure you've become far more conscious about your own health choices.
Oh my
gosh. No avocados?
Oh, no avocados. If you guys don't know, I'm allergic to avocados. It's really depressing. I know everyone's like, oh, it's the worst. But fun fact, Taylor Nyquist, another volleyball player, is actually, we played a tournament together and we were like grocery shopping. And she was like, oh, like I was thinking about grabbing some avocado, and I'm like, I can't have that. And she's like, oh, that sucks. And I'm like, yeah, people are like, oh, that's the worst. And she's like, oh, actually, I'm allergic to pineapples and bananas. And I was like, that's worse. Like, I can't imagine not eating bananas. But I guess some people feel that about avocados, so I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
But so you're starting to hold yourself more accountable, which I'm sure has also improved not only how you feel, but your beach volleyball game. Taking a good uptick.
Definitely. I think, my biggest goal for this year, and kind of, I had like 2 words for the year, like for my family, our word of the year was like community. Especially like 2020 was the first time that Kibby and I had been in the same place for so long. We did long distance forever, and both of us are always traveling. And it's the first time that we bought a home, we settled. It's like the first time in my life that I'm like, wow, I really have 2 feet in one place, and it felt really good. So it's really important to us to move out into the volleyball community in St. Pete and in Florida. And when you're gone all the time, you just kind of end up hanging out with your really close friends. And you're all these other people that you're good friends with, you just don't invest in. But my personal word for the year was consistency. Definitely health coaching has given me the awareness daily to be consistent about things that I wasn't really even paying attention to. So on the court, consistently showing up with an intention, they're definitely, and honestly, sometimes when you say oh, do you ever take time off? I'm like, no, because I love volleyball. And if I was going to think about taking a day off, and I'm like, well, I'm probably going to exercise. Well, I might as well just go play because that's my favorite form of exercise, right? still on those days being like, today my intention is fun, whatever.
Okay.
Like, I don't need to get better today. I'm gonna like love the game.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, and it's just made me like overall a way more like mindful player all across the board. Like I tend to be I can like have a knee-jerk reaction. Like I can be pretty emotional like all over the board. And I think like being more kind of what I said earlier, like choosing to like either go with my emotions or choosing not to versus just like letting it happen. And like how it affects my team, how it affects myself and like my game. It's been a really interesting like thing to process and watch evolve. So I think that's probably the biggest thing coming out from like health coaching into my game.
Yeah. I think that's so important to go into practice with an intention, because there are so many times, well, it's probably a little bit easier for you for having a coach every day holding you accountable. But I work with Evie Matthews, and he is like the busiest man in beach volleyball. He works with Kelly Kalinsky and Emily Stockman. He works with Delaney and Tracy, and then he works with Bill and Miles when he still has time. And then he runs home, like picks his kids up from school, and then works at, him and his wife have this bakery.
Oh my gosh.
An hour away. Then he works at the bakery all night, and then he goes back and does it. He's amazing.
Thriving.
So I haven't been able to work with him too much. So like you just like get 4 guys together. It's like, oh, what do you want to do? I'm like, don't play games for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just like, so it's like really important to come in with an intention, or you can go away from practice 2 hours later and be like, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened here?
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah. That's so interesting that you say that. I've been thinking that a lot while I've been out here, because it is like a completely different experience in Florida. Like I like have the same coach or like the same schedule, because like sometimes we'll practice with a couple different people in the area, but like for the most part I have the same practice group and team consistently every day. And it's like really nice. I mean, I think that's why like in 2019 Sarah and I had so much success, because we had a training team that was a good team. Like we played Juliana, who's like crushing it on the Brazilian tour right now, and Eunice, like good Brazilian team, like same coach there every day. And like we all 4 of us were there every day to make each other better, instead of like you come out here and you're like awkwardly like playing with your competition all the time / like trying out because you never want to have a bad day, because you don't want like so-and-so to never want to play with you. And it's like this weird, like, I don't know, it's just like a very different dynamic.
Very strange.
Versus like coming into like this safe space where the whole group there is like wants everyone to get better. Like there would be days where, you know, like if Eunice and I, she's been like my training girl for like 6 years. It's so cool to have like somebody that's like been there through it all, you know? And like she might be having a day where like, you know, you have that day where you show up at practice and you're not having it, you know? And like you get a little bit of an attitude with the coach and whatever. And especially when you get comfortable. And I'd be like, Eunice, like this is not making me better. And it's not making you better. And like you need to make a choice. Like, are you going to continue with practice or go? And like having the safety to like call her out or her call me out when I'm doing the same thing, like it just makes the environment so much different. So I think about that all the time when I come out here, like how different it is.
It can be really weird here, and that's why like so I worked with Evie throughout. It was funny, I worked with him throughout like 2019 and then 2020 when we could like kind of finagle a secret court somewhere. And it like the improvement that I made just because Evie was there, like keeping me accountable and like, hey, your left hand did this on a block and you should have done that. I was like, I would never know.
Like that. Consistently.
And and it's amazing what having just a coach and like you said, a group who's out there, everyone's out there to make each other better. Whereas it's like, well, if he doesesn't play good, then they might break up and I can swoop in on this partnership.
Literally, I know. It's so this sport is so unique. Like that does not happen in other sports. Like in every other sport you have your team and that's it, and everyone's there to make everyone better and you're holding each other accountable. In this sport you're like literally competing and trying out and trying to like have space to fail and get better, but like not show, you know, it's like all in one day every day. It's so interesting to me.
I think actually that's one of my favorite parts about, have you trained up at 16th yet?
I'm actually going out there on Thursday.
So 16th, and now it's going to be way less because everyone's in Cancun. But it's really cool being out there because it feels like a very professional environment. Because all the teams out there are teams. It's like Try and Trevor, Cam and Theo have their own spot, but Casey and Chase and
they
Avery
have their
and Rosie,
coach and
like they got their coach and they're coming out there And when Adam was here, it was awesome. Because
you guys were in on that.
Playing against a team. And everyone was like, all right, let's get better today.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to have it. But 16th is like this professional training ground that I'd never seen in California before.
I saw a little bit of that this summer.
Yeah.
Because that was the only place really to practice for a while. It's cool. It's nice to see that change. I think it's only going to make the sport better.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that like moves forward out here, but it is nice to not have to worry about it at home. Yeah.
We mentioned a little bit ago that you kind of discovered like what good looks like for your game. Mm-hmm. How would you describe what good looks like and kind of what you're striving for as a player?
That's a great question. Good for my game looks like, do you know Matt Henderson?
I know of Matt. I've heard legends of Matt Henderson, but I don't know him. Like,
good for me looks like playing like Matt Henderson.
Okay.
So I hope he listens to this. I've never told him that. Like, I want to be like the most efficient, effortless player. Like that when you watch play, you're like, are they trying? I can't tell, you know? I think that's the way that I enjoy the game the most. You know, I think it's so fun to watch, not saying that other people aren't like this, you know, but like when I watch like Sponsel play, mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my God, like she just touches every ball and she's like running through bleachers, running through barriers, you know, like whatever. And that's so cool. And that's totally her game. And I'm like, that's not my game. You know, I can hustle for balls. Absolutely. But I think efficiency is like fun and smooth.
I love. You're speaking my language.
Yeah. I got to play a couple It's been like, so when I started my career, Brooke Niles took the job at FSU.
Okay.
Like the second year I was playing MVL, and actually Matt was the one who, Kaya was looking for a partner, Carolina Marciniak, and Matt was the one that was like, hey, I've practiced, like played a little like co-ed with Kim, you should think about her, because like everyone was super committed, so it's just like a weird part of the season, but she was also the best blocker on tour, and it's like, okay, the best blocker on tour is looking for a partner, so she ends up asking me to play, and that's when I like got in, you know, and so we hadn't played together recently because she had a baby, and like I like had spent, you know, every tournament like building stuff as a team, and we played together this year because there were so many tournaments and it was so weird, and it was so great. Like both of us were like, wow, like our ball is like so smooth and so efficient, and it's just like playing like that is definitely goals for me.
I've heard so much about Matt, and he was like Adrian's first partner, right? Or that's where like they got really good together. Yeah,
they trained in St. Pete with my coach.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, Adrian wasn't like, I'm not saying that was his only coach, but like they did a little bit of that, and so I think the way Matt plays is, I mean, he's a little grumpy when he plays, and I don't think he would be mad at me for saying that, hopefully. I don't want to be like that, because I really enjoy the game, and I want people to watch me play and be like, she loves volleyball, you know, because I think that's refreshing to watch. But watching
someone play, well, one, I think anyone who is successful with like, and it looks effortless, I think that's the hallmark of someone who is an exceptional at their craft.
Yeah,
like when I watch, I like just did a deep dive and watched the Masters all weekend. And I think watching golf, like the best players, it makes it look so easy. Yeah. And people who don't know golf are like, this is the easiest game I've ever seen. You just
like it's kind of boring. They're just like,
you make a putt.
So successful. Like why am I watching this?
And I think volleyball is a similar thing. Like you watch Taylor Crabb and he just kind of floats and hangs and whoosh, blind bounce. And it's like, well, I'd love to do that.
Yeah. You know, I think it's interesting that you say that, because I have been like preaching this to kids I've coached for years. Like I was working with, who was I working with? I forget who it was, but they're like, you know, you come across the short kids and they're like, oh, you know, like I've had coaches that be like, oh, you got to work on your vertical and you got to like start to hit the ball. And I'm like, okay, like, but no, like watch Katie Spieler play, watch Kendra Van Zweten's game, like watch the Lindquist sisters, like they're 5'5" and they don't block, and they have won $1 million playing beach volleyball. Like $1 million. I will never have that on my BVB.
Big sum.
Not for lack of trying, but you know, I think it's cool. Like every player needs to have that person that they're like, that person is so similar to me. Like I could never be like, I'm, Sponsel, that's who I want to be like. I'm just frankly like not as like athletic as she is. She is like phenomenal athlete, and so saying that I'm going to be like her doesn't make sense,
right.
So like picking that player that you're like, that's who I want to emulate because they're similar to me and I want to play that game is like,
I love that because I think that I've seen this on the beach so much is that so many blockers are they're like, oh, I watch Anders Mole film all the time. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing you could ever do. It's like,
you will never physically be able to do that.
Aliens can't make moves that Anders does.
Seriously.
He's insane.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe watch, Jake Gibb, or like Bill Kolinski.
Yeah.
Super fundamental dudes, like easy to emulate.
Yeah.
Well, easier than Anders.
Right.
Who's just like insane. But similar thing with one of my buddies. He has, I think, an 11-year-old kid. And he was like, Steph Curry is like the worst thing to happen to youth basketball.
Yeah.
Because everyone's just like pulling up from half court.
Yeah. Chucking balls out there, like hoping for the best. Yeah.
But I think that's perfect if you find someone who is your game can kind of emulate and replicate. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Or not just one person, but find a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So who's your person?
I have a couple. So Giannis Smedens. So Evie is always like, I want you to become the American Smedens. Because he's like 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
Like he has some heat, but he is more like craft and options and real wristy.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of Trevor. Try like pretty much any 6'3", 6'4" blocker. Tim Baumgren.
Yeah.
Watch a lot of him. Now I play defense.
There you go. Lefty. Anymore. Perfect. Yeah.
So those are my guys. But if talking about the 5'6" conversation, Kristen Nuss.
Kristen Nuss.
Just became
Is she
the
even
all-time
5'6"?
winningest player in college beach history.
She's gnarly.
5'6".
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I mean, I would say that I want to play like her.
Yeah. She's incredible.
Yeah. She is smooth and consistent and like level. Mm-hmm. She's good and
humble as can be.
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing against her.
We had her on the show a couple weeks ago, and she was like, sorry, I don't want to rant too much and talk about myself. Like, Kristen, the point of the podcast is like so we can
please tell us about how good you are.
We
all want to hear.
And she sent me a text. She pulling stuff out of Kristen was hard because she was like, sorry, I'm talking too much. And then she sent a text afterwards and apologized for ranting.
My gosh.
I was like, it was like an hour-long podcast, Kristen, and you talked for like 20 minutes. It's like, you're
That's
the
so
subject.
Sweet. Yeah.
She's awesome.
That's
Big
cool.
fan of Kristen Nuss.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Matt's like one of them. I think I've always looked up to Brooke Sweat.
Okay.
I love that she played at a mid-major D1 school like me,
Yeah.
And I think like coming from Florida, like for me growing up in Michigan and then moving to Florida, like just watching somebody like make it purely based on it's like American meritocracy, is like Brooke Sweat, and I love it. And I've always been a big fan. I remember watching her when I first started playing beach. I think it was like 19 or 20 years old. I tried out for the USA High Performance Program and came out here and did a little bit of training for a couple weeks. And while we were out here, there was like a Jose Cuervo happening in Hermosa. And to me, I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I didn't even know this existed. When we made the program, we got an email that was like, hey, practices are in Manhattan. We were looking at flights to New York. And that's how naive I was at the time, which was super embarrassing. But I'll never forget. I think she was playing with Fatma at the time, and I'll never forget watching her play in the final and being like, this girl is in charge of the game. The three other players on the court, in that specific match, just weren't participating. Brooke was in control, and I was like, dang, I want to be like her.
And just a great human being too.
A great human.
Such a fan of Brooke.
Super humble, super family oriented, really just does her thing and doesn't worry about anyone else, and that is what I want to be.
Brooke was practicing 2 courts down from where we were coaching maybe last week, and I was like, Delaney, do you think Brooke has ever had a bad touch? All of her passes are perfect, poke cut perfect, poke line perfect, jumbo perfect, baby cut. I'm like, she's unstoppable.
Yeah. Her and Carrie were training in Florida, and so Sarah and I got to go down and train with them, and I was sort of dying inside, it's you would get to a certain point in your career where you're 18-year-old me would literally
Melting.
give anything. Yeah, totally melting. Like, I'm practicing with my favorite beach volleyball player and the GOAT. Like, what is my life?
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty cool. And it was like fun to also be like, oh, we're very competitive with them. Like, not only are we here, but we're like,
yeah, you're doing
making it work, you know? And so, yeah, it's pretty cool to like come to that moment in your life.
Now, I mean, you're getting good enough to the point where I'm sure that like you have given a similar moment to other girls now playing in Florida where they're like, I get to play Kim Hildreth. Like, holy, this is awesome.
So it's funny you say that because, like I said earlier, like I had that moment where I turned 30 and I was like, I was totally the 18-year-old kid that was like playing with the ladies who like brought their kids to the court. And like, I even remember like Vicky was one of the girls and she would like wear her little jean shorts. And I'm like she's 30 and she's wearing like short shorts. Like, oh, that's so scandalous. And like now that I'm here, I'm like, wow, yeah. Anyway, but I we've had that moment because, you know, like there's a couple good girls that go to FSU and are killing it this year. And like totally, like they were like, you know, now we're like the older ladies and like they're like practicing with us and we're like, oh, we're playing with the kids. And like I remember like I think Erin Murphy is at FSU now and she was like, yeah, I gotta like my mom's gonna pick me up from when we are done training and like I gotta go do my homework. And I'm like, oof, okay. So yeah, maybe it's that moment for them that'd be cool. For me, it's more of a moment of like, wow, here I am.
I'm a lady.
Feeling like a grandma. Yeah, I am a lady.
Florida State's freaking good this year, though.
Florida State is awesome. It is fun to watch.
Do you follow the college game closely?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
Because I feel like it's like Florida State, LSU, UCLA, and USC, and then it's just kind of like this mess of like kind of 5 through 15.
Yeah.
But the finals, it's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be fun to watch after, I think the first initial meetings don't mean that much.
Yeah.
I think the coaching staff behind those schools is like so elite. Like, I mean, I can't like pick better like players that I would rather have on my bench that are on those benches, you know, like Nick, Brooke Niles, like Jason Lockhead.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I got the opportunity to train with him this summer and I was like, oh yeah, I really want you on my bench. You know, like so the first time these teams meet is going to be totally different. Like I know like there's no way those coaches are leaving like national champ, like they're thinking long term. They're like, you know, these wins matter, it's exciting, whatever, but like I want to win a national championship. So what are they planning in their back pocket to like switch the lineups or like just game plan strategy wise that they're, you know, learned from that first encounter? Like I'm super stoked to watch. There's some high level like, college volleyball.
It is insane looking at the talent. Like, so USC just kind of like blew up its lineup and changed. I think all 5 teams are brand new. Yeah. But like you had, I think Delaney Maple was on like court 5. I was like, she just took a 5th in an AVP. I literally like lost to her in Guam in the first time in pool play, and we had a gnarly match between them in the semis. And they're in the 5s. Cool. Like if I was like a 5s when I was in college and playing her, I'd be like, you're kidding me, right? Like it's insane. Yeah. It's crazy how good kids are now, because I'm sure that because I know that when Delaney was growing up, there was no like coaching on the beach. You just kind of like, it was just something you messed around and they're getting better coaching than we are. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Like they're getting coached 5 days a week for free. Like, and it's the best players to ever play the game that are coaching them. Like Todd Rogers is coaching you 5 days a week. I love taking stock of the coaches. Like Todd, Stein, and like UCLA's staff is insane. It's Stein, Jenny Johnson-Jordan, and Jose Loyola. Yep. I'm sorry, what? Crazy. Yeah. Like literally no professional in the world is getting better coaching than some of these kids are. Yeah. Yeah. The game in 5 years is going to be different. Also, the qualifier this year for the women's side is going to make me want to cry if I'm ever in it. It's crazy. Yeah. And that's what if he were here, he'd just say, bruh, I do not envy the women's side. Dude, and I really don't. I'm looking at it like Zana and Chrissy were like Q46 when they took 3rd. Yeah. I'm like, that's a pretty damn good I mean, this year, there were 4, me, Katie Hogan and Megan Rice, Zana and Chrissy, and Sheila and Kenzie that were qualifier teams that made semis or more. And Delaney Maple and Megan Kraft.
Oh yeah,
took fifth.
They took a fifth. Yep.
Yeah, out of quali.
Out of the quali.
That tournament was nutty.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's not going to be the last time that happens.
No, I think that's kind of actually probably an introduction of what is to come.
Yeah, it's going to be
Here's a question.
Is it time for me to retire yet? I don't know. We'll see.
I'm really curious on your answer to this one. So everyone's been talking like the AVP's got to expand the draw. But I was like, well, the AVP is obviously not loaded with money. So what is your thought on if they expanded the draw, paid out the same? So main draw is now 32 teams. Only the top 16 get paid.
Okay, I have like a couple feelings on this that I've been thinking a lot about lately, because right now this sport is about lack of opportunity, because the lack of money is there no matter how good you are.
Right.
Like I remember talking to a couple people, and in 2019, if you won every AVP in 2019, you did not make 50 grand.
Yeah.
So like you're not making money playing beach volleyball right now.
Yeah.
So if we're just going to continue that assumption is not going to change, yes, 100% I think they should expand the draw, because the opportunity should be there, because it's already not about money.
Yeah.
Can that eventually turn into more money? Sure, I think so. But I already feel like the top 6 teams, they really aren't making anything. So like all of us are all making other things work.
Right.
So I really don't think it should be about the money.
Yeah, because I was talking about this. Me and Adam have had some like really long, great conversations along these lines, and I think that
got a lot of time
it's
for that.
about like one. I think it would actually help the AVP make money, because it's not much more of a financial investment if you're not increasing the prize money.
Yeah.
But you're also getting new matchups, new faces, and a lot of the athletes finally feel like they're a part of something.
Yes,
Because
totally.
I think that the difference when you are in the qualifier and when you're in the main draw, like qualifier, you just like feel like you're not in it.
Totally.
Like you're on this totally different thing.
Totally.
But I think that the talent is there. I mean, obviously on the women's side, if they were to just expand the draw on the women's side, like that, I would understand. Because like the talent's so deep, and I think that fans would be seeing all this young talent and all these new faces, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
like this is an excellent product.
I totally agree. I think that the qualifier mindset is really hard to get over.
Yeah.
Like to be a qualifier player, like you definitely, I mean, I barely feel like I can call myself a professional beach volleyball player.
Yeah.
Like really. And I know, like, and I try to keep myself like humble. Like I know people would like have given anything to like be where I'm at. Like, but with that mindset, for someone who like has made a couple main draws, that's totally different.
Yeah.
That's totally different. So I agree. I think like it gives you more opportunity for more real matches too, because a qualifier match is so different than a main draw match.
It's like the stress in a qualifier, unparalleled.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like the match I played against your wife in New York in 2019, I will never forget this. Like that was the craziest qualifier I have ever played in. I mean, we played, I think we played 4 matches maybe.
Yeah.
And like we were
are stacked.
Oh my gosh. We were at the bottom of the bracket, so we didn't play till the end of the day.
Okay.
So we played our last 3 matches with like we had 15 minutes in between each match. And we played, who did we play before them? I don't know. But anyway, we played them in like the second. So I'm playing Delaney and Emily Hartong and not even the game to get in. Okay.
Crazy.
That's crazy. Our match, I think we ended up beating them in 2, but we went like, at the time it was the record. We went like 49 points after the freeze.
Jeez.
Yeah. So we basically played 2 matches. And then 15 minutes
just, like,
later, played Janelle Allen and Carrie Shue, which also went 3.
Man.
And then like the next day we were just like, here I am. I got nothing in the tank, like less than nothing, and I'm just happy to be here at this point. Versus like being in the main draw, like that mindset of like, okay, if it was an expanded draw, we would have never played those matches, and now we have a totally different like game day. Is the first day of the tournament, not like day 2. It's I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about it because like. I hate it when everyone's like, oh, well, it's really good. Like, they got to pay us more. They need to expand the draw. It's like, well, if they're not bringing in more money, then they have no reason to do that. But I think that this is a good happy medium of recognizing there's talent out there but we still don't have the financial means
Totally.
to pay double the amount of players.
Totally.
I would love to see it just because I think that, we always talk about like grow the game, and I like hate that hashtag.
Yeah.
But I think that would be kind of a cool way to grow it a little bit,
Yeah.
is to expand the draws and make it a little bit more like it was in the 90s, where draws were like 64 back then.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a different experience for sure for players and fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So the AVP, and we won't keep you too much longer. We got a little dinner coming up. AVP, no news, but are you planning on doing any more FIVBs? I know you went out to Guam and you did Cambodia?
Did Cambodia last year. Snuck those in somehow in March of 2020.
Right
we flew to Guam. Yeah, I still can't believe that happened. But yeah, planning on signing up. I think it's going to be interesting to see like how it goes, because I know there's a lot of really good teams with like similar points, like all trying to play these 1 and 2 stars this year. So hope I get the opportunity. If not, good luck to our U.S. teams that do. It's definitely going to be a different experience. I think it's kind of a bummer right now to like play those tournaments. Like you're trying for like bigger goals, but also like half the reason that we do this is to like go to cool places. And
right, for sure.
Like I'm sure there's no like exploring going to be happening anywhere, so that's less fun. But yeah, gonna give it a shot. I mean, I'm all in. Like I think 2020 gave fun. Like this is the first time I feel like I've always been all in, but like this is the first time in my career where I feel like this is the most freedom I've ever had to like really go for it. So I'm excited. It's fun to feel like I can have, again, like 2 feet. I think that's probably my takeaway from 2020 is like I have 2 feet in like everything that I'm doing. So
that's awesome.
It feels good.
Love it. Well, if you get into the events, I'll see you out there.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully we'll be traveling there together.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, Kim. Shoots.